Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reeder with Future Pastimes, and I'm the designer of The Adventures of Conan, which has arrived at my doorstep today. Wave 1 of all of the GameFound campaign goodies, so I'm still waiting on the miniatures and the dice trays, but I'm going to do an unboxing of everything that I do have. Yes, it's another unboxing video. What makes this one special? Well, as the designer, it will be annotated. I will be giving you some insights, some designer behind the scenes, also some closer look at a few of the things and talk about stuff that might be of interest. So let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at first what we have in the base game box itself, which is going to be different from the preview box that they sent me last year when they did their preview videos. The game was not fully done. It was mostly done. The rules were also not fully done. There were a few things that were not quite correct yet. And, you know, there's still probably a couple of errors in the rule book. But fundamentally, the new one is much better. So we have the box. And inside, this was new because the other one didn't have it. It's just some nice frames from all of the different issues of Dark Horse Comics that comprise the artwork for the game. So other than this original piece that was commissioned for the box cover and the two box covers for the expansion, as well as the art direction, which we'll take a closer look at all. But all the rest of the art, and there's quite a bit of it, it's all drawn from Dark Horse comic books. Dark Horse comics, well, comics in general was how I was first introduced to Conan. It was the Marvel comics in the early 80s. This was even before the Arnold movie, which of course, I saw and I loved. But comic books were my first introduction to Conan, and then I picked up all of the books and other media. And so we had access to the full catalog of Dark Horse, and they put out quite a bit. They had 51 issues of Conan. They had Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Cimmerian, Conan the Avenger, Conan the Road of Kings, Conan the Slayer, and a few other things. So the art, for me, is the biggest highlight, and it also informed the design in a lot of ways, which we'll take a look at. So we have the solo mode rule book, which, not counting the cover, but it goes up to page 12. And solo mode was not originally going to be part of the game. This was going to be a 2 to 4 player game. That was how it was designed. But it was through the campaign that Gale Force 9 heard from enough people who wanted a solo mode. So they asked me to do a solo mode, and I had to think about it for a little while, but did finally manage to come up with something that I thought would work. I don't play a lot of solo mode. In fact, none. I don't really play board games solo. For me, it is about the social aspect. That's what I get out of board gaming, is playing it with other people. When I want to play a game by myself, it is an app or a video game or what have you. But I wanted the solo mode to have some of that same depth that I think the game has. So this was probably the most hastily put together thing in all of this, was the rule book for solo mode. And it couldn't be better, almost certainly, but there's enough in here. And I think between learning multiplayer and learning solo mode, you'll be able to figure it out. And ask me questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Here's the rule book. So you can tell by 35 pages that this is not a light game. It is a game with a lot of depth, and so prepare yourself for that. If you have received it, or if it's imminent, or if you're thinking about it, it is a dice game, and so there's some level of abstraction that happens, but it also has a game with a lot of depth. I like to give players a lot of meaningful choices that they have to make, and I'm a big believer in trying to give players choices between things they want to do and not just things that they can do, which is a little pet peeve of mine in board gaming. And I find that a lot of other games that don't really excite me as much, and it's because if there is player choice, it's between things I can do but don't necessarily want to do either of them. Here, I think you will find that there's a lot of things that you can and want to do, and it's about trying to optimize not only your best move, but taking into account what the other players do as well. So an important part of the game are these little player guides. So there's 4 of them for up to 4 players. There's one for Conan, one for the ally, and if you are playing 4 players, then you have 2 different foes. And this has on here, these are all of the base game foes that come in it, although Hala can be an ally as well. And then, those are also the foes, but here are the other allies. So Nestor the Gunderman, and Calanthes, and Janissa, and Alvazar, and then Conan himself. Now, the inside of these have got some strategy tips. So you can read this before you start to play. It'll make more sense after you've at least started playing. So it goes into a little summary of the role, different ways you can earn victory points, what to do in fights and duels and encounters, how to handle adventures, talking about getting more dice. It's a big deal. You're going to do a lot better, especially as Conan, the more dice you can get, although it is harder because your dice are more expensive. Other ways to score and how much your dice cost. But this is the thing you're going to be looking at the most, because this is all of your main phase actions. And so it's based on your die results. And as you can see, you've got in just about every case here, except for scry. So scry is the only thing where there's only one thing you can do with the scry result. But you have a choice of things that you can do. And again, it's because I want players to be able to do things. Now, you're not always going to be able to do all of these. You're not going to roll all of these results, and some of them you're not going to roll at all. But you have other ways of doing those, and that will come clear with the rules as you read them. A little summary of the different results on your die. I don't know why they printed it upside down, but whatever. It's they're very useful, so don't lose those. Then we've got some punch board. Now, this first sheet of punch board is a half sheet. This is all solo mode stuff. So these are solo mode challenge tokens, and they have a little bit of a green tint to it with a big crack in the skull. And I want to show you in comparison, because that was not originally going to be, there was not going to be a solo mode, so there wasn't going to be this whole punch board. But these are the regular challenge tokens. So you can kind of see it's a little bit different hue, big crack in the skull. Almost all of these solo mode challenge tokens can be used in multiplayer. And the reverse is also true. We've got, these are markers that you're going to use in solo mode to, I use them to highlight when a solo mode ally and a solo mode foe have their unique abilities, when they're triggered. So I put those, on the board, if it's by the encounter track, if it's something that has to do with the encounters, or by adventures or whatever. So it's just a nice visual to remind you. This was also something that, it's these journey tokens. So some of the events will have you place one of these tokens in a kingdom, and then this is sort of the destination token. And the idea is if you can go to the kingdom where this token is and take it to this kingdom, you're going to be able to advance on those 2 achievement tracks. So there's each combination of the 2 of the 3 different achievements that you can advance on. And this is something that we were sort of thinking about for the 3rd expansion, but when solo mode became a thing, I was like, well, this is something that I already like and wanted to add in. So, and again, those events can be just added into multiplayer. So that was another thing that was important to me in designing the solo mode, is I didn't want to have too much of it that was only usable in solo mode. Some of it is, which we'll take a look at when we get to the cards. But this is our first sheet of punch board. So just for solo mode, it's only definitely used in solo mode. So here is our next, this is a full sheet of punch board. So we've got the challenge tokens, and there's a variety of effects. So some of them are good, like the gold, the fate tokens. This is a special kingdom thing, victory points that you can score at the end of the game. But a lot of these are bad for Conan, for sure. The fights, the temples of Set, and there's quite a few of those, as you can see. So this is one of the ways that The ally and the foes can try to slow Conan down, to deter him from going to certain kingdoms, is by playing these. Some will be played by events, and nobody know what they are, so that'll be interesting. Here we have first player marker. We've got the two God tokens that were added to the campaign as part of the system of daily unlock. So they had me design a lot of extra stuff that wasn't even going to be part of the game, and they unlocked it each day. So and they also had some stretch goals, and we got through a couple of those. We'll look at that. These are I think these are the Triumph tokens, which is a variant that you can use. Gives you just another way to mitigate certain rolls, like, oh, it's hard for Conan to roll he doesn't roll the sorcery symbol, and he only has a scry on 2 of his dice. So you get these tokens as they've got a couple of effects, but they can help you out to mitigate some bad rolls or to give you that extra push that you needed, and then it's used once and it's gone. These over here are relics, which was another daily unlock, basic mini expansion that they had me do. So these are brought into the game by encounter cards that have specific matching symbols as their which kingdom do these happen in. And if somebody defeats the encounter, they'll pick up this relic, which they'll be able to use for the rest of the game. We've got the character token. So if you don't have the miniatures, this is what you're going to need to place your characters on there. So we've got one for Conan, and then we've got a bunch of the foes. Oops, and this is the direction of play reminder, so that you know, well, which way is the play going. I'll just keep that out. We'll go to our next sheet. So this has a bunch of gold tokens, 1 gold, 3 gold. All of our fate tokens. So this is your mitigator. If you collect these, you can use a token to change one of your dice to this result, if that's the one you needed. And then our other God tokens. So these are the ones that were meant to be in the base game. And then we have the 2 extra ones on there. So these are, you collect these, you get one at the start of the round. You keep it until you use it. You use it, it goes back to the supply. And then our last sheet of punch board has got the plot track itself. So you punch this out and assemble it so that it's that many spaces. These are skip markers that you can use to skip, like each chapter of the plot has 2 spaces next to it, but some of them say only 1, so you put a skip marker there to remind you. More Triumph tokens. These are hit markers, which you use in fights and duels, so just keep track, and they've got a 2 on the back. And then these are encounter track markers that you use when you have 2 foes, because the foes share a pool of extra dice that they can get. So they're the white dice with the foe symbol on there. And you can place those on the encounter track, but it's important to know whose are whose. So if you have both foes in there, if the red foe places one, you put this underneath it. On the back side, it's for the black foe. And then Janissa has an ability to also acquire a foe die from the general supply. So if she has one of those and places it on the encounter track, she uses that token. It's just a way to keep track of whose dice are whose. All right, the next thing that we have in this box is the board. So the board has also an original piece of art. So it's the depiction of portion of the Hyborian Age. And it's got the scoring track there along the top with goodies that you can get as your marker moves to certain spaces or moves past them. The encounter track where you place dice matching these symbols to unlock encounters. Each kingdom has a unique ability and attributes to it. And then you've got the achievement track here for unlocking your different achievements and scoring, hopefully, bonus points at the end of the game, getting a free die. I love the look of that. So that was Gale Force 9. We've got separating all those components with the dice and the cards. There's a little, the box cover art there is a little thing. I will probably frame that and stick it up somewhere. All right, then we've got the insert. So the insert is here, and it's got a little clear with the Adventures of Conan logo there on the top. The bottom of the box has a little compass piece of art. Yeah, we've got a nice little tray for holding all of your dice. And these are all the character dice here. We also have the kingdom dice. So these are the D8 dice that there's one for each type of kingdom. And the dice, they're nice, good size, solid. They roll really well. And it's a, it's an etched, it's recessed and colored in. So these are nice and sturdy, good quality dice. I'm really happy with with all the components. So we've got a large compartment that has these two sets of cards, oversized cards. They're not quite tarot size, but they're pretty big. This one is filled with the solo mode main action cards. So the game is played over several rounds, and each round has a number of phases in them. And many of the phases translated pretty well to solo mode without much change. But the main phase, which is the one that has a lot of player interaction, that was where we had to come up with a system in solo mode that would help to simulate that multiplayer experience. So this is a pretty good job. It is puzzle-like. It's a rubric that you roll your dice as Conan, and you roll the dice for the other rivals. So a set for the foe and a set for the ally. Conan can use some of the ally dice, sometimes at an additional cost, like in this case. And depending on what Conan does or what result he uses, there could be consequences based on what the other characters have rolled. So if they haven't rolled a symbol, then Conan can do what he likes in certain cases. Some of these, though, are not static. So when Conan does an action, you're going to roll the remaining active dice of one of the other characters, and something will happen. It will also change their result. So you might have planned on, like, they didn't roll any of these, so I should be able to do whatever I want. But then if you do a certain action, they're going to reset those dice and roll possibly something else. So I like that effect. One of the things that someone has pointed out, or they couldn't find it in the rule book and haven't looked at it because I just opened the box, but these little wound symbols here in the top, there's some cards have 1, some have a ×2, ×3. That's just a difficulty level. So the 1 wound, the 1 sword cards are the easiest ones. The ×3 are the most challenging ones. So there's no effect there, but it's just so you can kind of, curate your experience. But the main action cards, and I'll do a video that goes into it more, but you've got the stuff is sort of at the beginning of the round, or beginning of the main phase. You're going to do these things, or they might have a recurring effect. So like this is a recurring effect. Then you have this rubric here of whatever Conan does, you check to see if the ally and the foe have a certain symbol. And if so, they'll spend it to do something in response. Then you have sort of end of the phase things, and some of it is end of the round things. So it's we'll take a look at that rule book and we'll report back. But that's what those are. There's 30 of these in the main game and more in the expansions. The other one is filled with the characters. So this is all of your characters for the game, and there is a solo mode version of every character except for Conan. So your Conan card can be used for either solo or multiplayer. And let's find Conan. Where is he? There he is. So Conan the Cimmerian. So this is our first of 3 Conans. Each expansion has another Conan with different abilities. So each side of your character has a different ability. You pick which one you want to start the game with. There are effects that will let you flip the card. But in some cases, you'll be using that same effect throughout the game. So any of the other characters that has this little icon, it's the lone figure. That's the solo mode. So we've got Abbott here with solo mode Abbott with 2 abilities. But if we sift through the cards here, we'll find multiplayer Abbott. And what's nice is it's different art as well. So multiplayer Abbott and solo mode Abbott. And each of the solo mode characters also, each side has a recommendation of which main action cards you should use to form your deck. So you might say, yeah, we'll use Abbott, and this side of Tothamon says use main action cards 8, 9, and 12. And so you use 6 of those cards, and that is your deck. It's the recommended one, but you can use whatever you want. It's there's a lot of ways you can adjust the difficulty and the experience itself. Also in this large inset area, there's some baggies for you to put your components, some player markers, wooden player markers for your various tracks that you're keeping track of. And then we have 2 other insets that are filled with cards. So this one has, looks like encounter cards. So let's take a look at some of these. So when I talked earlier about the art direction, so I love, like, there's this nice recurring motif on the backs of the cards that Gale Force 9 did. So this is what the encounter cards look like. You can see the event cards have similar motif, different symbol. Same is true of the adventure cards. So I really like that. It's really sharp looking. But if we look at, the encounters, these are a lot of the monsters and other adversaries that Conan might have to face. So we have skeletons, we have Scray. What even is this? Soldiers he might have to fight. The tentacled one. So these are, again, they're all right out of those Dark Horse comic books. And there's a lot of different rewards you can get. This is indicating where you would have this encounter. So if Conan is at the end of the main phase, he's in a kingdom with that attribute. Or if he is in, there's some special ones in here, this type of kingdom. So this is for a wealthy kingdom. Some of these are the... Again, daily unlocks. So like this one, Ella Desnal, is a really difficult one. And it's only if Conan has 3 or more fate tokens, he'll have to face that. This one's called Poison of Set. It's only if there's a Temple of Set revealed on the board. And it says right there, if there's a revealed Temple of Set anywhere, then Conan will have to face that. So yeah, there's quite a few of these. And again, you can say, let's just use these or those or the others. I like to just throw them all in there because sometimes it's good to really challenge Conan and see how he's going to do. The other set we have in here, these are all plot cards. Now, the way that these different plot cards work is you're going to have 5 of them along the plot track. And, when you're starting off, these are divided up into groups of 5, and so they'll all have the same sort of name convention that's being used. So we can see, for instance, this one says the Test of Nerve. So, and that's number 1. So there'd be 5 of those numbered 1 through 5. They'd all be Test of Nerve. Those numbers are considered chapter numbers, although it's just kind of a generic way to refer to them. You might be on chapter 1 of the Test of Nerve for the whole game because you just didn't roll what you needed to advance along the track there. But we've also got the Test of Determination and the Test of Fortitude, and they all have a different, not just a different name, but a different theme. Some of them have a lot of other effects that might take place, like these. Doesn't show any required results that you need. It just shows the bonus. But the required results are going to be whatever attributes the kingdom your character is in has. So if you're in a kingdom that only has 1 attribute, that's the only one you need to roll in order to advance. But if you are in one with 3 attributes, then that's what you have to roll. So you want to think about where to end your movement at the end of the round. Which adventure should Conan go to? Maybe he should go to the one that has really easy attributes to roll in the next round for the plot roll. So it really changes up how the game will play. What kinds of rewards you get based on each character will change. So there's a ton of these. There's a ton of these. And you can mix and match them. So you don't have to use all 5 from the same set. You can use, one from each, 5 different sets. You also don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have all 1s, which would make it much easier to move down because the 1s are typically easier to achieve than the 5s. So I'll give you a comparison here. This Test of Nerve, Chapter 1, has 2 required results, Kingdom and Warrior, and 1 for the bonus. But later on, we can see here on Chapter 4, there's 3 results. Here, there's also 3, and then 2 different ones to get the bonus as well on Chapter 5. So yeah, you could have all Chapter 5s if you want, and it would be really hard for anybody to move up on the plot track. But this is in the resource phase, and it's meant to help you get some resources that will help you out in that round. On the other side, our last we've got the event cards. And so you're going to draw one of these at the start of each round, and it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to seed the board with some tokens. So we'll have a challenge token here. You'll put in Aquilonia. You will have a sorcery token that you'll put in these 2 kingdoms, Zingara and Pictolin. It tells you the direction of play. So this is counterclockwise from Conan, and what the bonus is for the round. That would be 2 victory points and roll a local kingdom die. So you got a bunch of these, and this includes some from the solo mode. So this is what I was talking about before. This is an opportunity, and it will place one of these tokens in Pictolin, and the destination is Coraja. And this symbol here just means whatever direction of play you were going, it's going to be the other one. So, so these are used in solo mode, but you can use them in multiplayer as well. It also includes a new type called Upheaval, which, all of the fate tokens matching the achievement track have no effect. And then the other one is gold has no effect. And then the third type that's for solo mode are called rights, and they bring god tokens onto the board that you can just go and claim. So again, you can just mix these right into your multiplayer mode as well. They're all really cool variations on the event deck. And then our last but not least set of cards are the adventures. It is the Adventures of Conan. So these are your adventures, and so there's quite a few of these. And he tells you which kingdom it is. So if Conan wants to do this one, he's got to go to Argos. And if he wants to do this one, it's in Coran. Tells you the results that you're going to need, the reward, the number of victory points per die scored. They also all have this little shape. So this one has a little tiny triangle. It's a little hard to see on here. This one has a little crescent moon. And so you can divide these up by the shape and curate your experience. And the rule book says, for this many players, for an easier game, use these adventures, and for a harder game or for this many players, use those adventures. You can use them all. That's totally up to you, but if you're starting out, you should probably do the easier ones, or if you're just doing a 2-player game, you probably don't want to have one like this. This is going to be really hard for Conan and just one foe to be able to complete that adventure. So that's going to be probably 3 or 4 players. You're going to do better off. So that's everything that is in this base game, which is quite a lot. There's a lot of replayability and variety just in what we have there in that base game. But we have 2 expansions, and what they've done here is this is the expansion for the Queen of the Black Coast. That's what that box cover looks like. The opposite side is what the box cover for the other expansion, the Numidian Chronicles, was going to look like. But yes, I think they're just going to probably keep those together. I don't know that they're going to sell them separately retail. I have no idea. Maybe. We'll find out. But for the game found, in any case, they're combined into one box. So let's take a look. So same art as before. We've got our rule book for Queen of the Black Coast. So that's 7 pages. Nothing on the back there. Numidian Chronicles. rule book, also 7 pages. So not a ton of complicated elements in here, but let's take a look. The first thing that we have is the board extension. So it's going to add 8 more kingdoms, which shows the Black Coast. So this goes right at the bottom of the other map. It does have a nice little space here. We had this whole open space here, so I said, let's add in a little section for you to set your set-aside dice, because there's effects, like if the foe puts dice on the encounter track, then anytime Conan or the ally have to make a roll on encounters, they have to set aside that many dice of their own. So you're just going to put those there, because you do get those back. You can either switch them out for the next encounter, or if you do move on to any adventure, you get those dice back, as opposed to wounds. So if anytime you suffer a wound, you have to choose a die, and it's going to go here for the rest of the round. You just don't have access to that. And so you might have wounds and set-aside dice, and you're really struggling with how you're going to accomplish anything. So there's 2 sheets of punchboard, 1 for each expansion. So this is the one for Queen of the Black Coast. It has a new type of challenge token. These are called coastal challenge tokens, and they can only be played in a kingdom that is adjacent to water, really, adjacent to the sea. And they can only be moved to kingdoms that are adjacent to the sea. But they include a variation on a fight. This is called, I think it's called a pirate raid. And so instead of having to roll warriors, whoever faces this has to roll pirates, which is going to be really challenging. It introduces the wild fate token. So when you have one of these, you can use it as any. These tokens are used for a couple of the kingdoms on the board, which you can toggle on this attribute and toggle it off. And it also introduces a variant called quest tokens. So there's going to be event cards that put quest tokens face down in kingdoms, and it incentivizes you to kind of move around and check out some other kingdoms. 2 new god tokens as well. And this is for the new Conan, a couple of new foes, and some scenarios with some special. So that is Thak, I think, from Rogues in the House, which is the one that Nabonidus is in. So there's a scenario where Thak gets added to the board. And then we have the punch board for Nemedian Chronicles. 2 more gods, a new Conan, 2 more foes, another special token, more challenge tokens. And then these are scenario tokens that look like challenge tokens. They get placed like that, and you're trying to find them. And that's a scenario that does that. A couple of new effects here in the challenge tokens, so that's kind of fun too. We get to the insert. It has the same sort of plastic cover over the insert to keep things from escaping, I guess. So let's take a look here at what's in here. Some more baggies. In that well here, we've got, again, more main action cards for solo mode, and more characters for multiplayer and solo, so more foes, allies, and Conans. We don't need to take a look at those. In here, we've got the new events. So there's several new types of events. We have Doom, we have Prosperity, a few other things. These are scenario cards. So on one side, it's the setup, tells you sometimes which gods to use, this one tells you to use a rogues gallery, which is a variant that you can play, what types of adventures to use. And on the back is the gameplay or ongoing effects that change up how the game is played. So there's a bunch of those. And then we have the Bazaar deck. So this was the main element from the Nemedian Chronicles, is you're going to have 3 of these Bazaar cards face up, and you can spend gold to buy these. Some of them can only be played by specific character types, but you can use a trade action to trade one. If you bought one off the top of the deck without seeing what its effect is, and you're like, oh, I can't even play this, you can trade it for another, either a face-up one or another one off the deck. A bunch of those, each one with its own artwork and unique effect. And a lot of them, take a quick look at them, but a lot of them can be supercharged or get an additional effect by spending a fate token, a certain fate token. So if you've got certain fate tokens and then you're looking at which face-up Bazaar cards are available in the market there, you might be like, oh, you know what? If I buy that card and play it, in my next turn or later on, I can also get that enhanced effect. So I'll give you an idea. So like right here, this one, if you play a scry token, when you play this effect, you also gain 2 gold. Or this is one, you play warrior and you force somebody to lose 2 gold. And so, yeah, gain a second Bazaar card, advance on the Thief achievement track. So these are very handy, and they add a lot of interesting new gameplay elements and choices to your play. On the other well, we've got some more plot cards, even more plot cards. More adventures. Most of these are going to be on your second board. There is one here that's in Pictland, and that's because it was an issue of Conan the Barbarian that featured Belit, who is a character that's in this. She is the queen of the Black Coast. I think it's called Border Fury. And so I was like, well, I don't want to put her on a card in the base game. She shows up in the expansion. So there are no adventures that go to Pictland in the base game. So you have to get the expansion to do that. And then more encounters. So a bunch of interesting new effects and some tougher encounters that are in this expansion. So a lot of great stuff, and all of it is very easy to incorporate into your gameplay. And that's how I like to do expansions. I don't like them to be overly complicated. I want them to be used, so I like them to be easy to implement. We do have some other stuff here, so let's just keep going here. I'll just take a quick look at this. So this is the box of the card sleeves. So it's card sleeves for all of the poker-sized cards. There's no sleeves here for those giant main action cards or the character cards. You're not really shuffling those or anything, so there's some blanks here. The scenarios are double-sided, so that's what the blanks are for. But here you can see a bunch of sleeves for the encounter cards. Here's a bunch for your Bazaar deck. So yeah, there's another set of blank sleeves. Oh no, that's the same one, just moved. Events, so these are nice. I don't typically sleeve my cards, but having custom sleeves, it feels like, yeah, why wouldn't I use those? So yeah, probably will. This is the token upgrade set. So this was another kind of exclusive thing as part of the campaign. I don't know that they're going to sell this separately. Maybe on the Gale Force 9's website, they'll have a limited supply. I have no idea. Certainly feel free to ask them. Go to the Gale Force 9 Discord, and they tend to answer a lot of questions there. But yeah, I definitely had to get these because I do like to bling up my board gaming. I have a lot of upgraded components for Dune and for Cosmic Encounter and for just about any game that I play. And there's some really nice stuff in here. So first of all, we've got these metal coins for the gold. So these are the 1 gold ones, and they actually do have the square in the middle is punched out. They're not punched out on the cardboard. It's just a black square. But yeah, they've got a really good weight to them. These are the 3 gold. These are very cool looking because they look a little bit weathered. So, they're missing little chunks like people have been biting them. So yeah, this is your 3 gold piece. So yeah, really nice. They're thick and they've got a nice heft to them. So these are going to be a lot of fun to just have in the game. And then we got 2 more things in here along with the silica pack. These are, I think they're glass hit markers. So there's no 2s on the backs of these. Most of the time you're not going to need a whole lot of them. But yeah, these are nice. And possibly my favorite upgraded token here are these wooden god tokens. So here we have Emir with its effect on the back. Here we have, this is one of the expansion gods, Jabal Sag. Here we go. We've got Crom. And Crom is also an expansion one, but he is take control of Conan in the resource phase. So that is really nice. I'll definitely be using these Wooden God tokens for sure. So really enjoy the upgraded components here. I will look forward to getting those dice trays in the second wave of elements. Here we have, this was part of our stretch goals, the Savage Sword cards. There's 15 cards in here. Let's take a look. These were fun. They're fun to design. Again, it was a matter of, Gale Force 9 said, design some more cards. And I said, okay, I'm happy to do it. And so, yeah, there were some others that I did design that we didn't quite get to, but maybe one day they'll find a reason to release them. So, and these are also further wrapped within their wrappings. So we have a variety of things here. So we've got 5 encounter cards. So we have Fetid Vines. We have the Araban Demons. That's from a great issue, Horror on Uskoth Hill. We have the City Watch. We have a Hell Swarm. And we have Worms of the Earth. So these are all pretty tough. Pretty tough encounters. We have 5 more adventures for your adventure deck. And these are a little bit different. They don't name a specific kingdom. They just need a type of kingdom. So if Conan wants to do war stories, he just has to be in a savage kingdom. And he can choose to do it. And if Conan is in a savage kingdom and a kingdom, a specific savage kingdom where there's an adventure, he just chooses which one he wants to do. This does have a new effect on it, and that is where somebody can place an extra die on here on their turn in the main phase to make this basically a more difficult adventure, one where more points can be scored. It's only 1 point per die on this one. This one, similarly, you can spend a fate token to have another required result. 2 points for that one. Yeah, these are very interesting. And then finally, we have one more plot, the Test of Discipline. And it includes an effect here where you can only place one of your primary dice. So for Conan, it's got to be one of his orange dice for this roll. For a foe, it's got to be the black or the red dice, etc. And that's true on all of these chapters. So, and then, of course, you have to roll a wild. You have to roll a wild. That doesn't mean it could be anything. It must be a wild that is used for the bonus. So those are the Savage Sword stretch goal cards. We've got our final 2 things here. So this is the playmat. So it's the 20 by 30 playmat, and it is for both boards. So it combines both boards into one fun experience for you. Here we go. Possibly get in through here. So it's neoprene matte, which is nice. So it really, looks really great. Let's really look at it though. All right, it's rolled up here quite nicely. So yeah, look at that. So yeah, it's really nice integration of the 2 boards. You got your set aside and wounds, your achievement track there. So yeah, this is a good size. I don't have the other board out for comparison, but it seems like it's pretty comparable in size. So it's not like a giant increase in size, although the board is plenty big. And then the last thing I have here is the other playmat. So as the designer, I kind of felt like I want to have both of these playmats. I do have a table here that is big enough to accommodate this beast, which is 36 by 60 inches. So this is my first time looking at this thing. Holy moly. All right, so yeah, here it is. And this not only has the combined 2 boards, it also has just, where should we put this deck or this card or these extra components? So you got a spot for your hit markers and for your triumph tokens once they're done. Yeah, for your extra dice there at the top, along with your, this is unwieldy. Yeah, the Bazaar deck, your plot track is right on there already. Here we've got the board portion of it integrated in there. So this is enormous. And I can't wait. I might use this as a comforter tonight and just sleep under the Hyborian Age. I don't know. Probably not. I don't think my wife is into that idea. But there you have it. So when I do get the dice trays and the miniatures, we will take a close look at those. We'll unbox them and talk about them. But yeah, it's been a blast for me to design it. I'm a huge fan of Conan. And so I love how it turned out. I will do a video that will talk a little bit about the evolution of the game. It went through a fairly strange evolution in its design. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. But yeah, let me know any questions you have about the components. There will be more videos about gameplay and strategy and insights into the design and anything else that you want to see a video on. So thanks for watching. That's it for this one. We'll see you again soon.